Hi everyone, it's JG here with Earth-5D University, back for another teaching. Thanks for being here today, guys. I'm excited to get right into it. It's an important message about being a starseed and about energy discernment, energy management. So let's get right into it, guys. It's been my observation as a starseed, so brief synopsis on starseed. Most all of us are, right? If you identify as a light worker, then you are a starseed. That means that you've had many starseed origins around the universe, around the multiverse, okay? So you've lived all different places here. You've been many different things. And so when you end up here right now on planet Earth, in this incarnation, in this dimension, 3D, ascending to 5D, then you are here on a very unique mission. So you had many unique skill sets that have built inside of you to become the person you are today, to be this person on planet Earth, to help humans with their ascension process. So you might be at a different stage in this process yourself. So first you have to become conscious, right? Then after you become conscious, then you help others become conscious. And it's like just tapping them on the shoulder, like, hey, y'all, what are you creating over here? And so we begin to help each other, assist each other to gain consciousness, to gain expansion, and just to wake up and understand our spiritual gifts. Now, what I've observed that I wanted to touch on is that when we are born as a starseed on this planet, we choose to be human, we take on a human incarnation, and we are born into particular families. And this particular teaching is about you sort of learning to discern what it means to be with light. So you were born into a family mostly as a starseed that was very difficult. I'm sure that you were either faced with poverty, abuse, neglect, you name it, sort of deprivation, sort of catalyst. So why did that happen to you? You didn't just choose that out of nothing. You just didn't get dealt a bad lot. It's not that you have some massive karmic problem here. The reason why most of you are here, the reason why most of you were born into those difficult situations is simply training, okay? It's training, and it's understanding sort of the enemy, the darker energy that's got humans, entrenched and imprisoned. So what we want to do as a light worker is we want to observe the fact that even though we were born into a troubled situation, even though we had the neglect, the abuse, sometimes the poverty, sometimes the disadvantage, that we did that for a reason, and that is to understand sort of how the enemy, those darker energies work. Now, am I saying that your parents were villains? Absolutely not. Were your teacher villains? Were your community villains? No. But the energy present within those systems are oppressive. And oppressive energy is the opposite of why we're here. We're here to bring liberation. We're here to bring expansiveness to these areas. So you as a light worker, it is your light. It is just the way you shine. It's your brightness, whether it's in your eyes, whether it's in your aura, whether it's everywhere. Let's say it's in everywhere. That is what is going to help people raise their consciousness. And now we're at a pivotal time. We're at a very pivotal time right now, because it's all of our 5D gifts are sort of awakening. And if you're a starseed here, even if you aren't a starseed here, and you just stumble across this video, our human spiritual gifts are awakening, just in humanity itself. So humans are born with extraordinary gifts. I'm going to spend a whole nother episode on that. Not going to get into that today, but we have extraordinary gifts. Extraordinary gifts. And they're waking up. They're waking up. They're waking up. So number one, you're part of a multiverse with all sorts of skill sets that you brought into this earth. Number two, you were born into a very difficult situation, mostly. and you've had to sort of find your way out of that to create greater consciousness. Let's say your immediate family was like phenomenal, it was great, but you might have been born into a country where you had very little ability to sort of get out of certain circumstance that you were born into. So you name it, there's a flavor for every starseed here, every scenario. But typically we're born into sort of the oppressive energy to understand what we're dealing with. And then we're woken up and we wake up, we pull ourselves out of that and we learn it and we remember that we're creating our own reality here. So, okay, we're creating our own reality and we begin to have to take control and assert our authority over our own spiritual gifts. So when we do that, let's say you're learning a particular spiritual gift, or you've been you're opening up to new parts of creation. Like, you might not even know what I mean by spiritual gift, but you're opening up to new energy. You're opening it up to new awarenesses. I call those spiritual gifts empathy, right? Intuition, just understanding that there's something bigger that you're a part of. That itself is a spiritual gift. So there's something that's changing inside of you. There's something that's evolving inside of you. Once that happens, it's super important to understand what you've been connecting to. Because what happens as a light worker starseed is when we're born into those oppressive conditions, we begin to feel like that is the norm. All right, we feel like that's the norm. And what happens with that is that we begin to associate oppressive behavior as normal. Okay, and it is not. Oppressive behavior is not normal. So the abusive situation, the abusive boss, the abusive partner, all that, guys, is not acceptable, okay? It's not acceptable. So we've all been there, but the idea is that once you become awakened, you realize, oh yes, I wasn't a very oppressive growing up. That was really difficult for me. Wow. Okay, now what am I going to do? Because I'm not going to continue with that oppression. That was simply to understand your quote unquote enemy, the more oppressing factors, so you can identify those, help people pivot off of them. As you pivot off of them, you will help other people pivot off of those negative, more oppressive energies into what is this? What is the opposite of oppression? Into expansiveness. And that's where the discernment comes in. So in tandem with you waking up, in tandem with becoming conscious, in tandem with making peace with where you grew up and how you grew up, is identifying that, number one, your spiritual gifts are dropping in. They're dropping into humanity. Consciousness is rising. It's ascension time where, it's all systems go. There's no turning back. It's all systems go. So it's either you're going to jump on the train or you might get run over by the train. And so you can jump on the train and, okay, I'm going to move into this ascension time. I say yes. I say yes to ascension, moving into this time. Okay, spiritual gifts, right? They're coming in. I now can see further. I can see future situations. I can see into other people. I can see what they're doing. I can see what they're feeling. I feel like I'm astral projecting. Now I have a twin flame, X, Y, and Z. Well, however you're ascending in your gifts. With that, stay right here with me. With those gifts, you want to make sure that you are connecting to spirit with them. So that is the bottom line in terms of discernment and getting your life really that machine going in a positive direction, because this literally is formulaic. It seems like it's a cluster, right? But it's not a cluster. It's just that you're waking up and you're like in a washing machine. You're like, where am I? Who am I? But eventually, once you grab a hold of this reality and say, hey, it's my reality, I'm grabbing a hold, I'm taking control, then you can begin to use this energy and you want to say, what am I connected to? Because if I'm connecting to something that is not spirit, not source energy, then I'm just playing around with darker energies that have been hiding out here for thousands and thousands of years. And so those guys are here. There's definitely female, male, you name it, every quality of dark energy is around. So what, right? So what? You don't have to say yes. You have free will. And so if you're being taunted and like pulled by dark energy, even if it's fear, anger, frustration, confusion, do not wear those as a coat. Do not put on the coat of confusion. Do not put on the coat of frustration. take off those energies. Just like it's like taking off a cloak or a robe or a veil. Take it off. Let it pass over you. Let it go. And then all you have to do is set your intention. Spirit, I intend to use my ascension energy for the highest good. I'm connecting to Spirit. It's actually a within sort of energy, but when us humans think of higher or lower, we think of left, right, up, and down. So, okay. But it's connecting to Spirit within it's actually within yourself. Okay, but the energy, the experience is expansion. So if you're connecting, let's say, oh, I'm going to use my spiritual gifts to read tarot. Okay, great. I'm going to use my spiritual gifts to learn energy healing. Fantastic. I'm going to use my spiritual gifts to now go into some political or economic system and try to change that, or IT system. Wherever you are, we're all becoming conscious, whether you're in a spiritual field or not. So everyone needs to sort of understand that just because someone's spiritual does not mean that they have good intentions, okay? There could be someone who's very not spiritual, who's sitting behind an IT desk somewhere at like Chase Bank, and you call them in and they have really good intentions, okay? It doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, try not to get these stereotypes in your head. Just because someone's talking about spiritual things does not mean at all that they're spiritual. So you want to look through them, and you want to look at yourself too. Look through yourself. What are you connecting to? Because if you're doing the spiritual tools and you're doing the gifts, the astrology, whatever it is, the teaching, if it isn't connected to source energy, then you're just kind of moving things around. It's not going to get you that ascension. You cannot fake ascension. I always say that you can't fake ascension. It is what it is. So you don't have to become uber spiritual to ascend. You just have to connect to Spirit. That's it. So connect to Spirit straight away. And how do you know you're connected to Spirit? Simple. You feel so expansive. You're like, wow, look at all this possibility. And that's where you are. You're connected. And when you feel the lack of limitation and oppression, there you go. And so you might have some personal fears, like, oh my God, I'm scared, da 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 da. Yeah, but that's not the kind of fear I'm talking about. You might have some little itty bitty spiritual fears. Okay, fine. But it's not those oppressive, like, you're going to die if you do this, something bad's going to happen to you. And it's like, no, take off those robes, take off that coat of negativity. Allow yourself to be free. Freedom. Okay? So if you need help with this and your own experience of ascension, of growing, of expanding into greater consciousness, feel free to check me out. Okay? Everything's listed down below. Sending you so much love and light as always. Bye for now, guys.